Yeah, we are the Adirondack Community Avalanche Project, and we're going to talk a little bit about our first year, which was last year, and where we're headed for the future. So I'm Caitlin. A little bit about me. I work for the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. I've had a variety of roles there, but mainly working with the forest rangers, doing search and rescue, education, trail work, stewardship, etc. I'm a ski patroller at Whiteface Mountain. I got my Avy 1 10 years ago in Jackson, Wyoming through St. Lawrence University, where I went to school, and I've been backcountry skiing for about that long. I'm also a freelance writer. I used to write for Powder Magazine and currently write for Outside and Ski Journal, etc.
Hey folks, I'll just introduce myself real quickly. Nate Trachte. Grew up in Lake Placid as an alpine ski racer, and then decided that spandex and skinny skis wasn't all that fun. So moved out west for college and started backcountry skiing about a decade ago in the San Juan Mountains of Southwest Colorado. And then spent a little bit of time in the Pacific Northwest getting a master's in education, and then recently moved back to the Adirondacks to get back to the mountains that I first fell in love with. So yeah, psyched to be here.
Yeah, so here's a little bit about how we started the project. This photo is a great representation of a nice day of backcountry skiing in the Adirondacks. This is Nate skiing actually off of Mount Colden. This is called a slide called the West Ramp, which is a very exciting line. I have yet to get on, but across the valley there is Algonquin, which is the second tallest mountain in New York State, which also has some avalanche terrain, mostly on the other side that we can't see. But anyway, so people have been skiing here for a long time. And, mainly started as a group of really hardcore locals that didn't really talk about where they were going or talk about avalanche hazards in our mountains. And as we're kind of seeing across the country, there's this huge boom in backcountry skiing. People are getting into the sport. We're seeing more people in our mountains who some of them have formal avalanche terrain, but a lot of them don't. And as you can see in this picture, we clearly have avalanche terrain in our mountains. And there isn't a lot of opportunity for educational opportunities in the Adirondacks. A local gear store called the Mountaineer, based out of Keene Valley, they put on several avalanche courses throughout the winter, but they all fill up really quickly from people who both live in the Adirondacks and who live outside but come to ski here. So there's clearly a desire for this education, but just not enough of it. So it was actually in one of these courses I took last winter, a companion rescue course, that the instructor came to me and asked. He was teaching a level 1 course in March and wanted to know a place where he could go to get some snowpack data from our mountains so that he could teach the class in an educated way. And I had no real resource to give him, which is a story I've had to tell to a few people, and it never feels good. So that's when I started brainstorming and went to Nate. And he had been thinking about it too, how maybe easy it could be to compile and create a crowdsourced weather and snowpack and avalanche observations website. So we then made up ADK Avy. So what is ADK Avy? Our mission is, as you can see here on the screen, to increase the awareness of avalanche hazards in the Adirondacks and share snowpack, avalanche, and weather observations to help our community mitigate the risks of winter recreation. So our website right now is pretty simple. We just made it using a Google site, and right now we have several links to education resources you can find online about avalanche awareness, and then weather resources people can click on. But mostly what we really created the website was to have a Google form that people could fill out if they had avalanche data they wanted to share, or snowpack test results, or weather data. And I did a lot of research in the beginning, just looking at several avalanche centers throughout the country to see what they had on their observation sites. One of those was MWAC. We took a lot of what they use there to create our observations form, because it felt like the most similar, they were doing the most similar thing to what we were trying to do in the observations field. So we created a Google form and then put it on our website. And we also have Instagram, which is a good way to get out information quickly, or for people to share videos of their test results. And then beyond those two things, we're hoping just to make more educational opportunities available to people, and collaborating with other local like-minded organizations. So here's, if you go to our website, this is our, right now, our observation form, which is just a spreadsheet. We are really close to launching a new website with a much more improved user place for people to look at these forms and have it not be in a spreadsheet. But as you can see here, we have a brief title and the location and elevation and aspect, as well as the time and date that these people were making their observations, and aspect, red flags observed, if the person triggered or saw any avalanches, and then like more of a long form, what they saw, if they did any snow pit tests and those results, the conditions of the day, if they were seeking out or avoiding terrain or aspects, and other weather observations. And you'll also see in the lower left-hand corner, we have a separate place for incident reports.
Cool. So I'm just going to run through some highlights from our first winter. So as Caitlin mentioned, we really geared this project around just a place for folks to submit their observations for the rest of us to benefit from, to just kind of build a catalog and just help cover some of the information blackout in the Adirondacks. So we launched in January of 2022, and within that first month, we received 3 confirmed reports of skier-triggered D2 slides, and one of those is pictured here off to the right. This is looking up West Ramp on Colden, kind of the lower section of it where it pitches over quite a bit steeper ski cut, and triggered this avalanche during a storm, like at the tail end of the big storm in the first week of February. And submitted this observation to the website. And so throughout the course of the winter, we got 35 complete observations from 25 unique individuals. So we were pretty pleased with that, just as a fledgling operation, launching on a whim out of nowhere, and got a lot of community buy-in and positive feedback from folks we knew, folks who we don't know, reaching out and offering their support, and just echoing our sentiment that's hey, something like this is long overdue, just to push the conversation around avalanche awareness and preparedness in Adirondacks, and just kind of bring that conversation out and lend a little more light. We also got contacted by a number of like-minded organizations, folks at MWAC just reaching out and offering their general support and guidance, however we could take advantage of that. So that felt really good, and got contacted folks at the DEC and made some connections there to just again kind of move this ball forward and see how the DEC can hone their messaging around avalanche awareness, and just working with them in any capacity that they might be able to. And then again, our social media presence, we are on Instagram, and we kind of find that it's useful. Obviously, there's no forecasting in the Adirondacks, and Caitlin and I are not qualified to be forecasters. But when there's a big storm headed for the Adirondacks, it's pretty simple for us to go on there and be like, stay on your toes. There's a lot of snow that's about to fall, and avalanche danger is going to be on the rise. So make sure you're keeping that in mind if you head out and go skiing this weekend, that sort of thing. One incident that folks may or may not have heard of that received quite a bit of attention was this avalanche on the Angel Slides on Wright Peak last February. So just wanted to touch on this briefly. We made connections with the folks who were involved in this incident, and they submitted an observation, and then we followed up with them a couple times to kind of gather as much information about this incident as we could. So this is the northeast slope of Wright Peak. It's one of the, I guess, most easily accessible open slide paths in the Adirondacks. It's like a lot of people's first big slide that they ski in the Adirondacks. And so it's a pretty big avalanche. Two skiers ascending this path on the looker's right. You can see I outlined there in red. And they triggered this slide when they were estimated 500 feet below the start zone, and then were carried and both caught and carried, one partially buried, one fully buried. And the partially buried skier extracted themselves, skied over to their partner, located them with a beacon, lowest beacon reading of greater than a meter, and extracted their partner. And they estimated it took them between 10 and 15 minutes. So pretty miraculous that after this incident, they were able to extract themselves and both got out of there with no real injuries to speak of. So they were pretty lucky. A couple of photos. So this photo on the right is a photo that the rescuer took on that same day. And then this photo on the left is one that I took when Caitlin and I went in there a few days later just to investigate the site and take a look for ourselves. We did do some snowpack analysis when we went in there, dug a pit, did some tests. And it's interesting, this layer is a layer of concern in multiple observations submitted in the run up to this incident. So kind of interesting there. And, one thing that I just wanted to highlight was the amount of attention we received for just, what was meant to be like a organization that all of a sudden, we're getting contacts from news outlets and people wanting to hear all about what happened and why it happened. And it's just like, being prepared to communicate about this incident and just more broadly, like, hey, avalanches happen in the high peaks. They're not a myth. Like, you need to be prepared and ready to manage that risk if you're going to be traveling in and around avalanche terrain. This season, Caitlin mentioned, we're working on a new website. So hopefully ours will be nice and shiny and new. Like you saw Jeff preview the observations page on MWAC. So hopefully better user interface, kind of integrated within the site. You won't have to be looking at kind of an ugly, messy spreadsheet anymore. We got some time and expertise donated from a local graphic designer just to kind of like formalize the way we look and present ourselves to the world. We received a grant from the Adirondack Community Recreation Alliance and the Northern Forest Center to coordinate two avalanche awareness and education events, the first of which will be dovetail with the Mountaineers Backcountry Ski Movie Night. And so the first half of that night, a local avalanche educator, Casey Henley, will be coming in to give an avalanche awareness presentation. And so we're pretty psyched for that. And then the second of which we were able to set up a scholarship fund for an avalanche rescue course taught by Northeast Mountaineering, hosted by the Mountaineer in the Adirondacks, just to remove financial barriers for that course. So we're pretty psyched on that as well. And then again, just like bringing this conversation forward and taking it out of the shadows, if you will, and kind of formalizing it in a visible space, I think goes a long way to kind of just changing the culture around avalanche awareness and preparedness in the high peaks. And then also Caitlin and I will be working on some sort of financial structure that allows us to kind of pursue further grant funding. And so probably we'll be figuring out nonprofit management and formalizing our 501c3 and nonprofit in the near future. So that's us. If we have time, not sure where we're at, happy to take any questions, or you can contact us going forward.